In this video, I'm going to be showing you 50 browser games you can play on any computer in 500 seconds. This leaves us with about 10 seconds for each game, so it's going to be a really fast-paced video. Well, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Starting off with the first category, we got Chrome extensions. So the first game for this one is Boxel Rebound, and it's basically a mini pixelated platformer where you use your spacebar to jump around with the square along a platform. Then we got Boxel 3D, which is a 3D version of this, and in my opinion is a bit more fun. Now we got Tiny Tycoon. This is a really relaxing game where you just build your own mini plot of land and try improving it as much as possible with the resources that are available. For the fourth game, we got Happy Friday, which is a platformer with some pretty nice graphics for a Chrome extension. But the only issue is it's only on a Chromebook, so MacBooks and Windows cannot run this game. Now we got this game called the Flappy Basketball game, which I did cover earlier on in a video, but it's basically just Flappy Bird, but instead you're using a basketball. Doodle Jump. This is a pretty classic game and it's available on the Chrome Web Store and is pretty simple and can run on any computer. For the final game of the Chrome extensions category, we got Orbital Daggers. This game is really simple and you're basically just this little blob in the middle with a bunch of weapons and you gotta defend yourself and defeat waves of monsters. Moving on to the racing and flying category, starting off we got Slow Roads. This game got quite popular because of social media, but if you haven't heard about it, it's a game with really good graphics for a browser game, and you can infinitely drive either a car or motorbike in any setting you want. This game called Hyperspace Racers 3 is available on many websites such as Crazy Games, Cool Math Games, whatever you want, and it's a racing game similar to Mario Kart, but runs on your browser and is really simple to play. For flying game, we got GeoFS, which is literally Microsoft Flight Simulator on your browser. Not really, but it's really good. It's fun to play and somewhat accurate. In this game called Racing Limits, you're basically just on a highway and you gotta go as fast as possible while avoiding the traffic. It's pretty fun, but it's really simple. For the final game of this category, we got No Hesi Realistic Traffic, which is a game that I saw on social media, and apparently it's really good, but you do gotta sign up and create an account for it. It is free though. Starting off this category with multiplayer games that you can just play with your friends, we got Make It Meme. This one is already quite popular, but basically you get these meme templates and you can make your own memes and compare what you got with your friends and rate them. Next up we got Scribble.io, and in this one everyone's given a reference image and you gotta draw something and you vote on which is the best drawing. The final game of this category we got Hangman, and I don't think this one needs any explanation. Moving on to some random games that don't fit in any category, we got this game called Capybara Clicker, which is similar to Cookie Clicker, but you get the point. For the 17th game of this episode, we got Monkey Mart. Basically, you're just a monkey operating a grocery store. Idle Mining Empire is one of those games that you play and just leave it in the background and get to once every few minutes, and it's also quite relaxing to play. Space Waves is one of those addicting games with similar graphics to Geometry Dash, and it's really easy to play as well because the controls are literally just your spacebar. AI Minecraft has recently gone popular because of what it can do with just AI. However, I wouldn't consider it fun, but you could experiment with what it can do for like a few minutes. Moving on to some classic games that you can find on your browser, we got Eaglercraft. This is literally Minecraft, just on an older version so it can run on your computer. It's not the original one like classic Minecraft is, because it's a bit more updated and it runs 1.5.2. After that we got Minecraft Classic, which is similar to Eaglercraft, but you can only play creative and it's one of the oldest versions of Minecraft. Only thing is it's official and it's from Mojang. Next up we got Shell Shockers, which is a FPS game where everyone's an egg and you run around with a gun trying to shoot people. Now we got Red Bull, which is a platformer, however it's a pretty old game. Next up we got Slither.io, and this one is basically you move around the snakes trying to crash into other people and eat their bits, I guess you could call them. For two-player game we got Firebind Water Girl, which is a pretty simple game with simple controls. You gotta work with the other person to place stuff in the right position and jump over these pools and beat each level. For the final game of this category, we got Cookie Clicker, which is kind of like a business game where you first click cookies and then you can buy things to increase production. It might seem really boring and basic, but once you start playing, it's really fun. For emulators, I was only able to find two places that run quite good, and these are itch.io and scratch.com. With scratch.com, you can make your own games as well, but it's really simple. For strategy and business games, starting off, we got Mini Metro, where you try managing your own metro system. This game also seems quite basic, but it gets really complicated and fun once you start playing it more and more. Now we got the Final Earth 1 and the Final Earth 2. Both games are really fun, and the second game in the series actually does have some new stuff, but basically in this game the plot is that Earth is no longer existent and we gotta try surviving on a new planet where you gotta manage resources and make sure everyone survives. For the final game of this category, we got this game called Coffee Shop, where you just manage your own coffee shop by maintaining resources and making sure you sell at the right price. Moving on to some first-person shooters. Starting off, we got 1v1.law, which is similar to Fortnite, where there's building and stuff, but it's on your browser. Now a .io game called Krunker.io. Honestly, it's similar to Shell Shockers, and I'd say it's almost the same. Moving on to Zombs Royale, it's like Krunker.io but 2D, and there's more mechanics. For .io games, there's many out there, but in this video I'll only be covering two, Powerline.io and Hold.io. Powerline.io is similar to Slither.io but has a few more mechanics, where for example if you go near someone you get a small boost, and Hold.io is similar to Paper.io, where you gotta try being massive and eat stuff up. Now we got 6 platformer games. Starting off, we got Vex 4 and 5. There's more games in the series. It goes until 6 or 7, I think, and they're all quite fun, but for this video I'll only be covering 2. Basically, you're Stickman and you gotta beat a bunch of levels by avoiding a bunch of obstacles. There's a lot of mechanics which makes this game really fun. For the third game of this category, I was really impressed. It's called Nuclear Blaze, and I'm not even kidding, it feels like a full-on console game. It's so detailed and has really good graphics. For the fourth game of this category, it's a really old game called Snowbob, and you can tell it's really old because it feels like one of those Flash games from 2012. Next up, we got Run 3, which is another classic game, and it's really satisfying to play as well. For the final game of this category, we got Cuphead. No, it's not the actual thing, but it's a fan-made version with only 1 level, but it was made on Scratch, which was an emulator that I showed you earlier. This is actually really impressive because Scratch is quite limited to what you can make. For this category, I'm just going to be showing you guys some satisfying games that are nice to play. Starting off, we got this game called Idle Breakout, where you have to buy a bunch of balls and break a bunch of bricks. It might sound simple, but there's a lot that happens in the game as you go later on. Next up, we got Tiny Fishing, and this game basically you gotta hoist your hook into the water and catch as many fish as possible. For the final game of this category, we got Slice Master. This game is one of those games that you see with those Family Guy clips, TikTok or whatever, but it's satisfying to play every now and then. For the final category, we got the top 3 browser games I've ever played, and I highly recommend these. These are one of my favorites. So starting off the list, we got Ice Dodo. This is an extension game with a bunch of levels and is really fun. It might seem boring at first, but once you start playing it, you'll understand why it's fun. It's also not an easy game, with the higher level difficulties in the game being really challenging to beat. Now we got Coin Factory. I've made multiple videos about this simply because it's such a fun game to play. It's a bit like a business game where you gotta place down buildings and they make money, but there's a lot of strategy and a lot of mechanics to it, which makes it really fun. Now for my favorite browser game of all time, I'd say it's Polytrack, and honestly all the recent videos have been centered around this game. It's a really fun racing game where you can make your own tracks but also play the tracks that the creators have already made. I'd say making the tracks is the most fun part because, for example, I've made a bunch of Formula 1 tracks and show how you guys can make them as well on this channel. Well, that's going to be it for this video. I put a lot of effort into this one. It was much harder to make than normal. I really hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to tell me which games were good and which games were bad. And tell me in the comments if you want episode 2 or not. Well, that's going to be it for me. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you in the next one.